Thank you. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I'm very pleased to be here supporting the SUDC charity today. And I'd also like to pay tribute to the Right Honourable Member for Spelthorne, who introduced me to the work of SUDC, and I'm very proud to have played my very small part in helping support them and getting this debate coming forwards today. Last year I had the pleasure of meeting with Nikki Speed and Julie Roberts after said introduction. Two incredibly brave parents involved in SUDC, the charity working to understand and prevent sudden unexplained death in childhood. And I was very saddened and very upset and touched by their personal stories. But out of it, I was also very inspired by their commitment to support others, to try to improve understanding and to press for further research into sudden unexplained death in children and make sure that they don't have to go through such a tragic event, so others don't have to go through such a tragic event that they themselves went through. And as a parent myself, I can't imagine anything worse than losing a child. But not knowing why they died must make this even harder still. And while sudden unexplained death in childhood is thankfully very rare, it affects about 40 children in the UK each year. That's 40 families each year facing the same questions and facing the same challenges. Now, SUDC is working to support those families and working to ensure better, more consistent support available in the future. But they're also crucially campaigning to gather more information in the hope of understanding and ultimately preventing such deaths in future. Now, as a scientist by background, I absolutely agree that understanding has to be built on sound data. But the challenge with understanding sudden unexplained death in childhood begins at the very start. Currently, variation in investigation and certification following the sudden unexplained death of a child means we cannot know exactly how often SUDC occurs. There's no single specific code recorded, so gathering evidence on prevalence, mapping any factors or trends that might be present is very difficult and almost certainly incomplete. Without this, it's difficult, nigh impossible for research into SUDC to be conducted. Now, counter that and compare that with sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, so the unexplained death, usually during sleep of seemingly healthy baby less than a year old. Now, that is recorded. It's had thousands of studies conducted, as the Honourable Member opposite pointed out, and research papers published, which has helped contribute to the safer sleep advice that led to an 80% reduction in this category of infant deaths. In contrast, my understanding is that only 55 research papers into SUDC have been published worldwide, and the requests of SUDC UK are quite simple. Ask the government to recognise SUDC, and by doing so, ensure consistent supports available for those affected, and also that clear, consistent information by virtue of that is provided, both for families and the medics who may be experiencing this throughout their careers. They ask the government supports changes to enable clear and consistent data to be gathered and resulting research to take place so that we can learn more about sudden unexplained death in childhood and hopefully learn one day how to prevent such tragedies. And I think this, to me, makes complete sense in terms of going forwards with regards to tackling, these challenges and hopefully really turning around the horror that is sudden unexplained death in childhood. And I really look forward to hearing the Minister in his response to his thoughts and the government's thoughts in terms of taking this forwards in terms of what we can do. And I also, very much in the spirit of this debate, welcome the approach by members on this side and members opposite in terms of seeing this as the start of a journey in terms of this area, in terms of what work we need to do to make sure it gets the same, we see the same impact on SUDC as we saw in SIDS over the years. I'd just like to finish by giving my huge thanks to Nikki and Julia for their incredible strength and dedication to this work, and everybody who's part of the team, because I know there's a whole host of people who are involved in SUDC UK. I think it's incredible what you're doing, taking this forwards. The Minister, I hope you're able, he is able and the government is able to support the work of SUDC, not only in this debate, but in the months and years to come.